game. But let's get started with the man who captained the New York Rangers to the Stanley Cup championship, Mark Messier.
Messier wants a shot at it now.
And Mark Messier is going to hoist it one more time.
Well, I think if one word had to come to mind, probably unselfishness from a group of players. I think that word and that symbol alone probably stands for the most important thing that I can really think of. You know, you can add on top of that talent and chemistry and all those things, but unless you have the unselfishness of all the players, or actually the whole organization, it becomes pretty tough to win. And I know that from experience from the 6 Cups that I've won, that has been one ingredient that really stands out in my mind. I know from ourselves last year, the year before, having missed the playoffs, we ran a stretch of injuries, we lost our confidence. There was some things that happened during the year that weren't really that great. So when we came back to training camp the next year, there was a lot of things that had to be, a lot of questions that had to be answered. And obviously one of them was whether we had a little bit of that, whether we had the chemistry, whether we had the right personnel, and as the year started to unfold, it was obvious that we were, not only do we have it, but we were finding out amongst each other that we had it.
It's a quick shot, he scores! Tulich heading for the net. Right in front, Matteau couldn't put it in. There's a shot, they score! Kovalov!
I think it takes a leader and leaders, and I think it takes experience to realize that you do have that, to take it to the next level when you do have the talent, you do have the unselfishness, you do have the chemistry, and you do have the experience to blend it all together. It takes a lot of different types of people to bring it all together, and certainly leadership is one of those characteristics that you need.
Breezes by, Chodin, and shoots, he scores!
And he moves across the red line, blocks it to Messier. Here's a lead for Messier from Nathan Messier.
I think that the pressure in Edmonton really came just because of Wayne. I think that he had been so touted coming up out of the junior ranks. His career obviously was so well documented, and you just knew that if Wayne Gretzky was on your team, you're going to win a Stanley Cup. So automatically we became, even though we were the first year in the National Hockey League, we became very sought-after team to follow and to cover, and obviously because of Wayne. And only for years later did we start to develop some other stars like Grant Fuhr and Paul Coffey and Glenn Anderson and Yuri Curry and Tikkanen and all these players. But it was really Wayne who really brought the focus to the team. And when we started to develop the other players on the team, then it became really important that we did win, because we were good enough to win, and everybody knew it. And then that's where the pressure really started there.
After I won Stanley Cup, it was my goal every year. You know, even the last few years in Edmonton when we weren't as strong a team, I still felt we were good enough to win a Stanley Cup, and likewise when I got to New York. And once you've won, I think you legitimately believe that you should win every year, and you feel that you can win every year.
We won one when we were 22 or 23 years old, and our nucleus of our team was probably 22 or 23. And so now, as soon as we won the first one, people started talking dynasty, which was fantastic. And nobody relished the limelight and the attention and the pressure more than we did. I mean, it drove us to new heights because we thrived on it. And I think that's one of the things we learned from Wayne, because he was so used to handling it, that it didn't bother us, the media circus that followed the team from the time we began till the time we broke up in the early 90s.
Wayne, my boy.
Moving to New York, I quickly realized that there were a lot of bad things that have happened to the organization, a lot of bad things that we had to kind of eliminate and erase out of our minds so it didn't drag the team down. And that was a bit of a barrier to get over with. So that was a bit of a different, but the pressure was still the same. Obviously the media in Edmonton wasn't as much, but it was still very focused because it was such a small city. In New York, obviously, you know, there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 papers, countless radio stations, so the media was more in New York, but just as focused in Edmonton because of the size difference. But both great.
Here's Alexei Kovalev. He has the Ranger goal in for Messier.
We knew going into the series would be a tough series, and they were getting great goaltending, which is always the key in the playoffs. They got that, and it came down to anybody's series, and momentum is such a big thing in any series. We had lost momentum. We had to regain it, and I knew that we were good enough to win it, and I just thought that if I could portray that to my teammates somehow, I didn't know how, somehow that we were good enough, and to reestablish our confidence that we had shown all year. It was the most important thing. I didn't really think about it as getting as far off as it did, but you know, it wasn't really a concern at that time, more or as much as just getting the team back on track.
Messier shoots and scores!
I always remember loving to win, and never felt too good to lose. So the best way to try to eliminate those bad feelings was to go out there and play hard and win, and try to do that for most of my career, hopefully all of it.
The New York Rangers have